back again. I've drilled that little piece out there just to accept the very end of that bolt, and I've put the tap back in it just to clean up the edge of the threads there where the drill bit squashed the very beginning of it back into itself, and it's just cleaned it up again with the tap. I've been asked why people bother with a tapping guide, and why don't you just do it in by hand, push it in and turn it yourself by hand. But if you think about it, there's three things you have to do here. One is you have to give it a bit of pressure. Two, you have to keep it square that way and that way, and of course you have to rotate it. But this little gadget, of course, is going to take care of two of those. The spring in there is going to give you the pressure that you need, the correct amount of pressure. There's a fair strong spring in there, but you can actually push it a lot harder than that and do more damage than good. And of course it's keeping you aligned. All you have to worry about is rotating. I'm not very good at multitasking, so let the tool do the work. Okay, let's try that bolt. There we go. Let's try this bolt and see if it goes right down to the end now. Yep. I think that looks pretty good. I don't think you'll see that on the camera, but it goes down perfectly flat down to the bottom, and of course, more importantly, it's easy to get out. It should bottom out nicely. It does, and it's easy enough to get out. So what's this going to do now? You'll see it's our refill. Our refill is going to drop in there. There's probably dirt inside this, so it won't work just yet. You can see the refill is just sticking out the end, but I can make it drop away. Right, I can see there's a refill. Right, but I can see that it also needs to come in a little bit more. Needs to screw up a little bit more. Now, the easiest way for me to get rid of that is just to file a little bit off the end and make the refill stick out. Alternately, I can also take a little bit off there because I know that the thread, the depth there, the end there with the 2.5 hole in it is actually quite long. It's probably about 10 millimeters, so I can take off a few millimeters there as well. But when we won't worry about getting that to the exact length yet until we've got the shape and the thread on the outside of this. So we're going to shape the nid and put the thread on there long before we adjust the exact length. Okay, back in a sec. Right, back again. Right, we're about to do some threading on the outside. This is the nib end of the pen, so this is going to be the writing end, and we're going to do the threads for the cap. What we're going to do is we're going to run a thread all the way up to the end where the cap is going to fit. The cap is going to go over it like that. We're going to thread all the way up. When we've threaded to the depth we need, we're actually going to remove the threads this end that we don't need. You can see that on the original pen. So we're going to thread all the way along to a certain depth, or a certain distance at least, and once we've finished it and the threads are fine, then we're going to remove the first portion of those threads. Okay. Right. Here's the die. Here's the die. It's a M10 by 0.75 split die. That split die just means it's got a gap in it. This is a good quality product. It's a reputable make, and the purpose of the slot in it, the split in it, is it has a bit of adjustment in it when you put it in the holder. It means it can be squashed a little bit, so you can actually get a little bit of adjustment on the depth of the thread. So if you find that the thread's a little bit tight when you've done your first cut, you can just tighten up the holder a little bit and run it again, and it'll make that thread a little bit deeper. When you start off, always do on the fully expanded thread, because you can always take some off, but you can't put it back. You see here on the die, it's got three dimples. It's got the one on the side, it's got the splits in the middle, and it's got one on the other side. Your die holder should, if it's a decent one, have three little grub screws. Doesn't matter which one you use, it'll always have three little grub screws. This is the 1 inch diameter, the one that we're using. Put the middle one aligning with the slot. Right. Oh, and by the way, when you do this, it might not make difference with modern taps, but I've always known that the writing is always the leading side. I won't explain why at the moment, but if you just do that, you can't go wrong. Okay, so we're going to put this in, and our little slot aligns up with the middle grub screw. With one of these, you'll get a small little Allen key. You can nip that up. You don't have to make it super tight. All you want to do is the little grub screws are going to stop it rotating. They're not going to clamp it. You know, if it can't rotate it, that's fine. So we've nipped up the middle one into the split. Okay, that's keeping it open, and we're just going to snug up without tightening the other two, and that also is just going to stop it from rotating, but we're not actually clamping it. If we tighten these up too much, it's going to have a clamping effect and make it smaller. Okay, this here needs to be well lubricated. Remember, this is my stainless steel shaft that I knocked up. Right, this needs to be well lubricated. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to bring this up, and I'm going to eyeball it again. That looks pretty good there. And closer. There we go, like that. Unlike the tapping guide, this doesn't give you that spring-loaded assistance, but we don't really need it on a die. Okay, right, that's nipped up. Right, so we've got a little bit of movement there still before we get into that. Same story with this. You want to make sure that these jaws are nice and snug. If you've got a lot of, like I have now, WD-40, it might be a good idea just to take your nib out, clean them out with a rag just to get all the oil off. Otherwise, no matter how much you tighten this, it's still going to turn. This is a M10 thread. And this is an M10 diameter, so that's actually perfect. That's why I chose this piece of steel. If it was any other size, if it was M11 for instance, you wouldn't be able to put these threads on it. And of course, if it was 0.75 less than M10, then this would just slide over the top of it, so it would be pointless. But M10 is the correct size for an M10 thread. Right, here we go. Let's have a look. What we want to do is, as you approach, gently just back it off, but don't completely unscrew it, because when you go again, all you've done now is you've just started the thread. If you take it off and start again, you're going to cut a different thread and end up with inadvertent multi-starts when you don't want them. So don't take it off completely, just keep it there and back it off a little bit at a time. Okay. Keep cleaning it. This movement back and forward, all it does is the back turn just breaks off those little cuts. Because remember, all you're doing is you're gouging into the steel with the teeth. Instead of continuing gouging like a turning operation where you would get ribbons, here you actually turn it a little bit and then turn it backwards, and the tooth that was in front of it comes back and breaks it off. So that's the purpose of these movement back and forth. If you just try to wind it, it's going to be a waste. Not too worried about the very threads right in the beginning, because they're all going to be removed. So this will be a good thing just to get us going. And before I get too far, I'll tell you how far I'm going to thread that up, because obviously that's pretty critical. I'll tell you why I've chosen that distance. So I'll just get these going, then I'll stop. Okay. On the original pen, I just measured the cap, because I haven't drilled for the cap yet on the new one. I'm just going to make it the same as the original one. So I'm going to make sure that when I drill and tap the cap, I'm going to do the same depth as this. So therefore, I've just measured from the end of that to the end of that. So the total distance that I need to go in, to the end of those threads, including the nib, because obviously the tip of the refill needs to go into the cap as well, is 51 millimeters. Okay, so we need to make sure that the threads continue, down past the end of that thing, 51 millimeters. Right. Let's carry on with that. So we've got plenty of threads on there now, so I can actually take this, unscrew it completely. Right, there we go. I don't know if you can actually see the threads on that, but they're there. Okay, now I'm going to put a mark. We said the distance was to the end of there. Okay, it's 50 mil to the end of the pen, so the end of the threads from the steel, because I can only measure from the steel here, is it's about, let's make it bang on 47. Okay, so let's put that at 47. There we go. And a little mark there. Just careful we don't rub it off. Okay. It should be easy enough to find the thread here again, because there's about 3 or 4 full threads there, so that should quite happily find itself, and it has. Look at that. It's gone there quite well. Right, we're going to put some more lubricant on it. Some more in there. And we're going to go for it.